Okay. Good morning. It's Saturday. Happy Saturday, everybody. We are free of the burden of guests today, I suppose. So we have an open meeting. I just have a couple here folks for now. We're also streaming on YouTube. So we'll be back and forth trying to answer questions on YouTube and then talking our regular meeting here. So hopefully everyone's doing well. Happy Saturday. I've got a tri-tip cooking. So that's my food for the day, I suppose. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm trying to think what I've been looking at lately. I just kind of just for fun, checked the Google Trends on carnivore diet and versus vegan diet. And for the last 12 months worldwide, and carnivore diet is going up and vegan diet is going down. So that's good to see that. I think more and more people are, waking up to the fact that meat is a health food, and the sort of the plant-based narrative, which is being shoved down all of our throats through government, corporations, media. Many people are saying, we're not going to buy that stuff. So good for us, good for you guys. Continue to do it. Felice, good morning. Did you have something you want to share?
Good morning. Yes. I just came out of the new member onboarding meeting, and we had 3 people. I'm assuming, at a minimum, Eric is here. I don't know if the other 2 will join. Andrew is here. Okay, so Eric and Andrew so far.
Okay.
And we also had Stacy. I don't know if she's gonna be here, but that's it from me.
Okay, so Eric and Andrew. All right, well, I'll just welcome. I'll go ahead and, Eric.
My speakers are not working. Please connect. Oh, man.
Tina was having some issue. Anyway, Eric, good morning. How are you today, and where are you from, if you don't mind?
I am doing awesome. I am in Virginia Beach, Virginia. I have, I'll just give you a little brief history. Kind of like in your interviews, I was pre-diabetic in 2018, found keto, did that for a long time, lost weight, gained weight because, I met a goal, all that kind of stuff. And then I did the typical dieting thing. I went back to eating the way I always did, started gaining weight, went back to keto. And in August of last year, I started Carnivore. And just, I think 2 weeks ago, I signed up to become a coach. So I find this very interesting, very helpful. I see all the stuff that people are reversing and correcting and getting healthy, and I want to help people do that.
Awesome, wonderful. Thanks for doing that. And we have a couple coaches in here, and I'm sure they'll attest to that. It's been very rewarding for them. I'm just wondering, because a lot of people have success on a ketogenic diet, and many of them, this is sort of the common path that a lot of people take. They'll go keto and then end up carnivore. Seems like a natural progression for most people. What do you think it is about carnivore versus keto that maybe makes it more sustainable for it? Because, you said I want keto, but I basically couldn't sustain it. So what do you think's the difference? Or is it different for you?
Well, I don't think it wasn't sustainable. I just basically went back to eating crap food. I lost 85 pounds in about 8 months on keto. And then I went back and for Thanksgiving and Christmas, then, I enjoyed it. And so I gained like 40 pounds back in 4 or 5 months, and I got stuck. But I like meat. It's much easier to plan a meal. So I think both of them are sustainable. But it's a lot easier to me to be just meat.
Yeah, it certainly simplifies things for sure. And I think that, one of the, and I'm not going to, a lot of people have had a lot of success with a ketogenic diet, or in all forms of diets for that matter. But I think, a lot of the keto has become, so many products out there that are labeled keto, and people think that, and they go to the store and they go to the Costco and see all the keto crunch crap, and it's, they go in there and eat all that stuff, and they think, oh, it's keto, must be good for me. And it's still junk food. And it's really hard to do that with meat, because, meat is meat. There's no keto meat or anything. There's no product out there. It's just good. It's just pretty straightforward and pretty easy. And I think one of my I guess concerns around keto is a lot of people they've sort of undervalued protein and sort of, oh my gosh, it's going to knock me out of keto if I eat protein, and therefore they eat less of it. And I think that has impacts on a number of things potentially. So anyway, well, let me just take a second moment here. And I know we also have Andrew here as new. So Andrew, good morning. Welcome to you. And where are you located, if you don't mind?
Good morning, Dr. Baker. How are you?
I'm good. You've got, I don't know where it sounds like a little weirdness on the audio. Maybe.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I'll try to be brief. I'm out in New Jersey on the East Coast.
Okay. Well, welcome, and maybe a little background on you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. So I turned 40 this year, and kind of a long story. Went to college on a scholarship, biochemistry major. My fourth year, senior year, I ended up having a suicide attempt because I fell into some pretty bad health conditions and some issues that from childhood health-wise that plagued me. Ended up going out for a while, started trying all kinds of different diets, was a fruitarian for a while, vegan for a while, vegetarian for a while. Actually tried doing carnivore probably about 10 years ago based off a book. I forget the name of the book. It was written by some guy called Jonas was his name. If I find it, I'll post it in the chat. Did the carnivore diet, but was doing it wrong, wasn't getting any salt, very high protein, no fat. Ended up getting in a really bad car accident a couple of years back, and actually had a disc replaced in my neck and a shoulder reconstruction. Ended up doing great from the surgeries, but I was 315 pounds pre-diabetic, on prednisone low dose for the past decade, on sleep medications, psychiatric medications, mood stabilizers, and anti-inflammatories. Fast forward after my neck surgery, I started doing, I just wanted to lose the weight, got frustrated with it. Started doing more research online, came across Dr. Chafee, and I said, you know what, that's the kind of person I am. What's he eating? So started listening, started getting some more information, just made the commitment to do it. A year and a half now, I've been doing it. Doing great, lost 63 pounds off the prednisone, other meds cut in half. Running a business, just got my first patent issued, life's turnaround. So that's me in a nutshell. I'll never leave this because it's just, I've tried everything else, and, used to spend hundreds of dollars a month on supplements, protein powders, anything that was marketed, even exotic stuff, extracts, herbs, pure stuff. So now I don't even take the pre-workout anymore. It's just amazing. The energy is pure, it's clean, it's there. I thought I could never leave caffeine, but I did, and I'm good. Just to wrap up on a quick note, Dr. Baker, I was recently diagnosed as after my accident with something called Eagle syndrome. And I know your background is orthopedic surgeon. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but upper cervical, your styloid ligament, it ossifies. Very rare, probably needs surgical correction. And I also have something called the retroflex odontoid process, which recently kind of came across too. In hindsight, that's kind of what drove me out of college. Causes a lot of issues with swallowing, kind of feeling like you're choking. It's similar to like a Chiari disease where there's a brainstem crowding, except it's not in the back. It's an anterior retroflexion of that dens, and it's pushing on the medulla. So I am looking around locally now for a good primary, and also just some consults with some surgeons to see what can be done. I know there's some people in California that do it, but that's kind of far from me. So that's my story, and I'm curious if you've ever heard those two things and if you have any input. Thank you.
Well, I mean, first of all, congrats on all the success you've had. I mean, Jonas Vonderplanitz is the guy you're referencing. He had the sort of the raw primal diet back in the whatever day, a lot of raw meat and raw this and that, fruits and vegetables and things like that. And there's a lot of people that, over the years, I've heard a lot of people talking about his stuff. He was kind of a little bit of a kind of a conspiracy guy, and kind of died under weird circumstances. I think he was in Thailand and a roof collapse or a porch collapse, and he died. And some people think he was murdered. But anyway, it's kind of interesting. But I mean, as far as your question on the upper cervical spine abnormalities that you have, I have not specifically run into that condition. As you mentioned, it's quite unusual, and so I would defer you to people, obviously the spine surgeons or the maybe neurosurgeons that deal with that on a more, not even a regular basis. It's not going to be very common, but you know, and again, you've had it your whole life, apparently. Sounds like it's a, you know, it's a thing that has been going on.
Yeah, it started young. I mean, I can't run because I shake. You know, if I lose control of my bowels, it's just a lot of weird neurological symptoms. Over the years, I've been worked up. I've had you know, muscle biopsies, screened for different things. They thought it was maybe like a glycogen storage disease. A lot of neurological testing. They thought it was something with the transmitters or the sheathing, just because I get very shaky. But now, in light of the imaging that I had done around my car accident, it's apparent that it's kind of a mechanical issue. So, yeah, the hard part is it's so rare. It's very difficult to find people that are in that space.
Yeah, and I mean, as an orthopedist, I didn't do spine. I mean, you know, I made that decision early on. I mean, I train, and you know, as we do our circle training, we do spine surgery. But then you kind of make a decision: are you going to do spine or not? And there's pretty much everybody that does spine these days, except for some of the really old timers that kind of do everything. But most of the people coming out of you know, orthopedic training, they'll either some specifically do spine surgery, that's all they do, and the rest of us kind of leave the spine alone. And I fell in that latter category just because I didn't enjoy doing spine surgery, and I honestly there was a lot of issues with a lot of the secondary gain issues and a lot of mental health issues with spine patients for some reason. I mean, I think it's because they're so poorly managed that it leads to, you know, I think a lot of depression and stuff like that. And so, but anyway, welcome regardless. You know, I'm sure there's got to be somebody on the East Coast that does this. I mean, I don't know, you know, I mean, maybe not. I don't know enough about it to give you much insight on that. So, I'm just going to pop over to YouTube, and I saw there's a couple, let me see if there's a couple comments in there.
Dr. Baker.
Yeah. Hey, Brett.
Hey, Erin, I believe, is another new person. She
Oh,
just
okay.
Make the onboarding meeting.
Oh, okay. I saw Andrew and Eric, and where's Aaron? I don't even see Aaron. Aaron, where do I see Aaron at? Oh, E with an E. I was looking for an A. So Aaron. Okay, Aaron. Yeah, Aaron. Well, good morning, Aaron. If you want to say hi, you're welcome to let us know where you're from. And
oh, good morning. Hi, I'm West Tennessee. By Memphis.
West
Near
Tennessee.
Memphis.
Okay.
Right.
Well,
I'm by the river. I'm like 5 minutes from the river.
which river? Sorry, I'm
Mississippi. The Mississippi River. Yeah.
Okay, my bad. So I should know that.
Anyway. Yeah, no, that's okay. It's big.
Yeah, no, I've been to the Mississippi River.
I'm just teasing. Sorry.
My
yeah, and my daughter and son-in-law are cattle farmers and pig farmers up in Northeast Missouri. So
you got an intro. Well, good for you. You got
yes,
you know, on some good meat probably. So awesome.
I do, yeah, because it's all, you know, he just lets them roam around. They eat, and it's delicious. Oh goodness, yeah. So anyway, huh?
Go ahead. No, go ahead. That's awesome.
No. Anyway, so well, I'm 64, kind of old, turning 65, but my daughter's 27. I had her, you know, I was 37 when I had her, and I'd never had any kind of weight problems or thyroid or anything. And then I had her, and then, you know, it all went to pot. And then I went, you know, I was went to the gym, worked out. They, you know, did all the nutrition things. And of course they had us on, you know, the food pyramid, and that just wrecked me. And so I ended up in 2005, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I had gestational diabetes with her. And then I had my thyroid out in 2008. And yeah, and then I had back surgery. Let's see, I had back surgery, I had neck, cervical, yeah, C6 and 7 in whenever that was. That was 2005 at the same time. And then I had L5 and L4 and 5 had to be fused in my back. But that's because I used to, when I'm in college, I mean, I ran cross country and I was healthy, and I don't know what I did. I killed myself, I guess. But you know, so I went through all this, and then I tried to stay. I did the protein, whatever it was called, ideal protein, you know, so I was getting there, and I started to lose weight, and then the pandemic hit, and everybody was making homemade bread. so that you know, did me in, and I gained a lot of weight. And so anyway, now I've been on since end of October, Yeah. And I mean, I haven't lost, like everybody's saying, oh, in 6 months, you'll lose 100 pounds. Well, I've lost 30 and I feel like, my blood pressure's perfect now. I'm probably running about right around 100. And I had an A1C back in October, November of 8.9. And now it's down probably around, I'm running around 100. So what is that, like 5.7 ish or 5.8. So it's getting there, of A1C. And my fasting or my resting heart rate is down. I don't hurt when I climb up the stairs anymore. I mean, I'm never going back. That's all I know. I'm never going back.
I'm
So,
glad you're feeling better. I mean, I'm just for clarity, if your
yeah.
average blood glucose is about 100, that's usually about a 50,
Really?
right around 5.0. If the
So I'm
average
doing,
really is that, sometimes if you get like
wow.
a CGM, they'll have like GMI, which is a little different calculation, but your A1C,
Uh-huh.
an average blood glucose of 100 is an A1C of about 5. So that's, I mean, I
Oh,
don't know.
wow.
Show. So anyway, that's great. I mean, you go from diabetic to normal blood glucose and losing
Yeah.
weight and feeling better. And,
Yeah.
we see this stuff pretty regularly, which is good, and I think
Yeah. I'm thrilled. Everybody keeps saying, well, but tell us what your cholesterol is. And I'm like, oh, don't worry about that. Look, everything else is great. Don't worry about what my numbers are. So they're, we're not going to try it until we see what your cholesterol levels are.
well, I mean, and this is such a, I got to tell you, I mean, I don't think we should ignore cholesterol, but I mean, there's a point.
No.
You can't capture the entire population terrified about cholesterol, and they're willing to be sick in every other way. I mean, it's like, even, like I tell people, even if your risk for heart disease goes up, and I don't know that it actually does, but there's a point where there's quality of life. And, low cholesterol is associated with violence, suicidality, depression, increased infection, certain risks of cancer, dementia, low hormone production. I mean, all those things are there, and people are like, well, we're going to overlook that, ignore all that, all because we think that there may be some increased risk for heart disease, which is becoming increasingly questionable. And so we have people that are just sick in every other way possible.
Well, that test they keep talking about, what is it called? A CAC? I just started reading on everything. CAC.
Yeah, it's a coronary artery calcium test. Yeah.
So
it's a better predictor for cardiovascular events than LDL cholesterol. Is clearly. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but it's a better test. And then particularly if you get them, periodically, like every
Can you get them separately? I mean, apart from a doctor.
Yeah. You can in the U.S. anyway. I mean, you just go online and order one. You just $100. Bucks, you order one, go get it.
Okay, like through LabCorp or somewhere.
Not LabCorp, but I mean, you could probably Google in Memphis. I mean, because you said you're close to Memphis, so you probably just type in Memphis coronary artery calcium scan. Where can I get it? And a little bit of looking around, you can probably find a place that'll do it for you. Like I said, it's usually like I got mine done. I paid $150 down in California, and it was a 0, and that was about, I don't know. I'm probably due for another one next year, probably every 5 years or so. But yeah, I mean, that's something that's a reasonable way to do. Now, I'm just going to the comments, and I saw that also Carol Ann said she's new to the meeting, so I'd like to welcome her as well.
Sure.
If you're willing to say hi, I would love to say hi to you.
Yes, hello, thank you, Dr. Baker. Actually, I've been a member of this site for like 3 years, but I've never been able to jump onto these community meetings because I often have clients at this time where I've been traveling to see grandkids or something. So I decided it's time to make this a priority and join your community meetings when I can. I really appreciate it. I tell you, Carnivore I'm 65 now, and Carnivore about almost 5 years ago really changed my life. I moved from Iowa to Arizona for health, partly for health reasons, more sunshine, more activity, just change of lifestyle. But I discovered my health was really tanking. Now I've tried all my life to find healthy ways of eating, and I've run marathons when I was younger and taught kickboxing, aerobics, and weightlifting. And I did everything from calorie restriction to low fat eating to, Jenny Craig and Nutri, you name it. I tried it. And twice in my life, I had to lose 100 pounds or more. And, you lose that 30 pounds, you gain 50. That was my cycle. And I was always trying, being told I had high cholesterol, I needed to eat lower fat and exercise more. Well, how, you get to a point where how do you eat less and exercise more when you're already exercising 2 hours a day? It was like crazy. So when I moved here and I discovered my health was really tanking, leaky gut and candida overgrowth and all the associated autoimmune issues that were starting to crop up with that, thyroid and so on. I really started searching. I found keto 5 years ago, and that worked for a few months. But then I found through Kevin Stock, I found carnivore. And shortly after that, I found you and Ken Berry and others in the YouTube community. And I tell you, it turned my health around like that. I started doing some intermittent fasting about 6 months in, and my severe joint pain, my migraines went away, my UTIs, everything went away. It was just like a whole new woman. I couldn't believe it. It was like a miracle. I've only had one setback. Through some peer pressure and family pressure, I gave in to 2 years ago having the vaccine, and that has triggered some autoimmune problems again in my hands and fingers, which can be a problem for me, and in my shoulder, my right shoulder. It happened right away after the second dose. So I know correlation doesn't mean causation, but I can't find any other factors. I've experimented with my diet, going to just meat and water with no coffee, no dairy. I've tried lots of different things with my diet. And my naturopathic physician says it's not diet. It's something I've reacted to. So I'm still dealing with that. I'm a licensed massage therapist. I'm a professional psychic medium and shamanic practitioner, and you can see my massage table in the background there. And so I stay really active in my business still. I do a lot of online work and some hands-on work. So I want to stay healthy and fit. So I thought maybe trying to find time to be here with all of you, maybe I could get some ideas on what else I can do to, eliminate this lingering last 2 years since the vaccine of autoimmune reaction. I don't know. But, I really appreciate all you do, Dr. Baker, and all this community does. I did invest in Revero a year ago. I'm excited to see where you're going with that. It's like, we need this grassroots movement. We really do.
Yeah, I'm into that. Thank you for investing. And where were you located again? You didn't mention.
I'm in Arizona. I'm in a little community called Rio Verde. It's just east of Scottsdale, surrounded by mountains. Absolutely beautiful.
Okay.
I used to live in Iowa most of my life. That's where I raised my 4 kids. And they're all on the East Coast, and I'm out here in Arizona because I just love it. I just love it.
It's nice, the dry air. It's pretty mountain, pretty. I live in Surprise, which I'm sure you're familiar with that. When I was at Luke Air Force Base as a chief of orthopedics when I was back in the early 2000s, I guess it was. But anyway, well, I'm glad to see you got all those health benefits. Sorry about the most recent one. And, like I said, there's a number of people that, they say that, that they're not sure what the cause of the issue is, but certainly, there's a temporal cause, when if you do something and you have a problem with that, it could be, it certainly could be that. So
it could be, from what I've heard, I've listened to Judy Cho, who wrote the Carnivore Cure, or using meat as a cure. And she talks about CIRS, chronic inflammatory response syndrome. And I don't want to label. I'm not one that labels. I'm not one that likes to embody, that could be this disease or that disease. I'm really one that focuses on, I have a healthy body. Thank you for my ability to move and be in this lifetime in a healthy body. So I don't try to take on labels, but I'm also trying to figure out what can I do different aside from I've cleaned up my diet over 5 years ago. What else can be done? And there can be environmental or heavy metals or other toxins in the body that maybe carnivore diet can't quite reach. I don't know.
Yeah, interesting. Well, it's the night you mentioned Revero, and I'll take a moment. As we are getting ready to launch nationwide very shortly. We're just finishing up a few things, so probably within the next few months will be going. And one of the things I hope to do is to continue to collect data and find, people like you and find out what else is doable, because my goal is to, get people truly healthy. And, not everybody's going to go on a carnivore diet. Many people will need to, not everybody will need to, but we'll continue to figure out the various ways to get people off medications to, treat the root cause of disease and actually cure people, which I think is, we don't even talk about cures anymore in healthcare. It's mostly disease management. And I do think a lot of these chronic diseases are curable to the extent that they're caused by lifestyle, and they can be cured by lifestyle. And so, so we're very.
Can I just add something to that?
Sorry, Andrew, did you want to add something? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Is that okay if I add something?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I was just going to say, to follow up on that, I was actually diagnosed with SIRS and was treated by a physician here a couple of years back. They treated it with cholestyramine and some other herbal stuff to do anti-inflammatory. And I did the chelation, IV chelation, very expensive, hyperbaric oxygen, all these kind of therapeutics. And honestly, I didn't see much benefit from it. It wasn't until I started doing the carnivore that my body really started changing. And then after the first 6 months, I just, it was just a diet for me. And I noticed that all my, my mold sensitivities.
Yeah, I'll just, I would consider myself, even though I'm on this sort of quote unquote fringe of nutrition, I'm pretty skeptical. I'm pretty conservative with it. Most stuff I think probably doesn't work. And I think there's a lot of hype and a lot of just, not good science behind some of this stuff. And one thing I will say is that many of these modalities, whether it's stem cell treatments or PRP or, prolotherapies and hyperbaric, all these various modalities are out there that are of, I would consider, dubious quality, I suppose. I think at the very least, if they are going to work, or if there's some efficacy for that, it's not going to work in a situation where you're just pounding yourself constantly with garbage diet. I mean, I think that, if something's, I use the analogy of like, when I would used to, say I would replace somebody's joint, which we clearly know, I mean, there's a lot of data on joint replacement. And I've come to the belief that, if like the answer is you're resurfacing your knee joint to help with the pain because of, deformity and, just wear and tear and pain. You're not really getting rid of the primary driver of that disease, the arthritis, which is, I think in a lot of ways is biologic, metabolic, inflammatory, even osteoarthritis, which is differentiated from rheumatoid arthritis, psoriatic arthritis, or other so-called classic inflammatory arthropathies. And so even osteoarthritis has a large biologic component. If you don't address the biology, I mean, even if you resurface the joint itself, you're still, something like, a majority of people that have a knee replacement still report some level of pain, even though the joint has been replaced. And why is that? Well, because the soft tissue surrounding the joint, the synovium, all that still is being subjected to that same pathophysiology. And so, so I liken it to like, if I'm going to buy new carpets and put new flooring in my house, I'm going to, I don't like my flooring, I'm going to put new floors in. Well, I'm not going to do it while my house is on fire. I mean, that wouldn't make sense. I mean, why the hell would you put flooring in your house when the house is on fire, right? You put the fire out first, and then you would do that. And I think that's how a lot of people go into this. They have these, raging metabolic disease going on, and yet they're doing these procedures, and then it didn't really work well because you have all this stuff going on. You still have the insult going on that's causing the problem. So anyway,
I think that's what's so important about Revero, though, honestly, Dr. Baker, is that for people who have been sick or in pain, they're just looking for a result. So half the time, the things they're suggested to do, they really don't know much about. They're just being told by a doctor who's an authority.
Well, I mean, this is the thing. I mean, if something's wrong with my car, I take them to a mechanic. I don't know enough about I just don't have a lot of knowledge around fixing cars. And so you tend to have to rely on the expertise of others that are, reported, put up as experts. There's state licensing requirements, and we say we've got a certain level of training and we know how to do this stuff. The problem with that is that, unfortunately, much of the healthcare system doesn't do very well. I mean, when it comes to chronic.
I absolutely agree. That's why I'm saying I think Revero is good, is because you're providing an option for people that they could consider. They just never heard of it,
Yeah, right. Well, we're, like I said, I think, and I think the time is so right with this, because there are so many people right now that are just frustrated with the healthcare system. I mean, because, we're seeing it. I mean, we spend $4 trillion a year on healthcare in this United States, and everybody is sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker. And the solution is put them on more medicines. I mean, that's just what's happening now. We've got, we're going to put these on these gene-related medicines and DNA-type medicines, and high, expensive biologic medications, and what do you have? You just have people that are chronically medicated, and no one's actually any healthy anymore. And so, yeah, we're going to push back on that. Somebody asked how we are differentiated from, this is Jeff, from a company like Virta Health. I mean, there are definitely some similarities. I mean, we are going to focus on diabetes, just like Virta Health, and we'll be doing some similar things for sure. But I mean, obviously, we'll have a broader scope. I mean, we're not going to stick with just diabetes. We're going to be tackling pretty much most of chronic disease. And I think, honestly, I think a ketogenic diet can be good, but I think a carnivore diet can be better. And so we certainly won't hesitate to use that in the appropriate situations. I think that we're going to have more focus on some of the other aspects that they left out. I know some of that, we've had some of the people that worked with Virta that were frustrated with some of the things they left out. They're now working for us. And so I think we'll be able to bring a better package overall, and I think, we're going to leverage a lot of things that they haven't done for various reasons. But yeah, I think we'll find that at the end of the day, we'll be more successful, and we will hopefully have bigger reach. I mean, they're a good. I mean, I'm not going to knock them and say they're a bad company at all, because I think they're doing a lot of great things, and a lot of the people in there have been very good people. But I just think, there's more we can do, and I think we will. And I mean, quite honestly, there is such a need. There are so many sick people in this country that you could have 100 Virta Healths and still not even begin to approach the scope of the problem. So I mean, it's there's a lot of room here, and it's just like, I mean, I certainly hope there'll be other companies that take up this fight as well, because I think it's needed. And my goal is to, hopefully, because we just have such a sick society, and I'm quite honestly, it's frustrating to be part of it. When you look out and everybody is sick, and not only sick physically, but sick mentally, and that mental health translates into a lot of unhappiness and a lot of, animosity and quite honestly, violence that's occurring. And I think it's because so many people are sick, and, everybody's at each other's throats. And, we see all the sowing of division among the populations over various issues, whether it's political or whatever niche issue is. And it's all being, everybody's being divided. And I think the mental health problem is contributing to that in no small way. So anyway, let me see if I can look in here. I'm just gonna pop over to YouTube and see if there's any questions in here. Looks like it's mostly just chat amongst themselves. Somebody asking about how to become a coach. We do have, so right now we have carnivore coaching you can go to carnivore.diet and look at our coaching offerings on how to do that. It's a series of videos. I think there's like 20 videos and some testing and some, mock exams and things like that. And we require that people have 6 months of experience on carnivore before they do that. And then Revero will have a little bit more stringent requirements, because we'll be dealing with actual healthcare. And so we have to have some different things in place. Most of the coaches at Revero will have some sort of healthcare background, whether RNs or nurses or people with different biologic science degrees and things like that. So,
is there any plan for a clinic?
A clinic, not in the short term. I mean, we're going to be completely digital. I mean, clinic, you think the cost to build a clinic runs into the tens of millions of dollars, and it's just it's not very efficient. I mean, we can be very, very efficient and see way more people virtually than we could with brick and mortar stuff. And so I mean, what would be the plan in, 10 years from now, maybe? I mean, I don't know where we're going to go. I mean, if we got big enough to where we could say, okay, now we want to have brick and mortar stuff and deal with some, because, I mean, obviously there's things we can't do online. We can't take care of broken bones online. We can't take care of heart attacks online. I mean, there's obviously things we will be limited on, but honestly, the vast majority of healthcare that's done today is mostly this chronic disease. And I think most of that can be handled online, to be honest. And so, we can with very little, relatively little expense, we can do a hell of a lot, and I think that's a good thing, because healthcare is, I mean, it's ridiculous. It is ridiculously expensive in this country, and the results are, as we know, as we can see, are not very good. Life expectancy is going down in the U.S. for the last couple of years, which is kind of shocking to think that we're getting sicker, even though we have all this technology. And you think about all the technology, all the access to testing and imaging and information that we now have, at our fingertips, more or less, and yet people are getting sicker and sicker. And why is that? Well, because I think the whole paradigm is broken.
I think the one thing that's improved is the ability to generate diagnoses and treatment plans that are pharmacologically based. That seems to be the only thing getting better, because I don't think the patients are.
Yes, clearly. I mean, clearly we have more sick people. And I mean, anybody that's, this is the thing. I mean, you look around this meeting, most of us are older, right? Most of us are over 40. I mean, there's a couple, maybe younger ones in here, and because, you see the results of that. And what we're seeing is, they prey upon the youth, they lie to them, they put them on this path, they get them addicted to all these crappy foods. And now they're getting them like, oh, well, everybody needs to be in drugs. I mean, literally, I mean, it's like, it's abnormal if you're not on some medication, or it's going to become, I mean, I think there will certainly be a threshold where you will be in the minority to not be medicated, and after a certain age you are. I mean, after say 50, if you're not on a medication in this country, you're actually in the minority. And we'll see that at younger and younger and younger. So some people come to the expectation that it's just unfortunate. I mean, there's nothing I can do about it. We have these people that are slinging the Ozempic, this Dr. Fatima Stanford saying, well, it doesn't matter what your diet is, it doesn't matter what your lifestyle is, you are destined to be obese and there's nothing you can do about it. And so take this drug, which is, I think, absolutely, it's absolutely nonsense that is being put about. But, that's the sort of thing. Brett, 62, zero meds. Like I said, yeah. I mean, and that's a lot of the people in this community are on zero medications at older ages, because of the fact that they are eating in a way that it is aligned with our what we're supposed to be doing as a species. I mean, I can't remember who it was that said they really like meat, and I said, well, it's because you're a human being. That's
Dr.
why.
Baker, could I comment on that?
Of course you can. Sure.
When I moved here 5 years ago to Arizona, and I started going to a naturopathic physician at first, and she told me that the average 60-year-old woman is on 5 different medications. And I said, not me, not going that way. That's why I went on a search and found Carnivore Diet.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean, it's going to be, it's going to be a cholesterol lowering med. It's going to be probably an antidepressant.
Oh, I've been told for years I needed to be on a statin, and I just intuitively knew no. And I would say no, or I'd throw the sample in the garbage. Never would go on one. I've always had high cholesterol. It's just how I am. And actually the doctor, naturopath I see now, I found her 2 years ago off this site. She eats carnivore, which is highly unusual. Most naturopathic doctors push plant-based diet, and she eats carnivore, and she says my high cholesterol is exactly what I need right now. So I don't worry about it.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say, I mean, not yet. I mean, I don't think the data is out there. We can conclusively say high cholesterol doesn't matter in these conditions. But I will say that, I would get more information. I think I'm
in some cases, I think you're right. You have to take it individually. In my case, postmenopausal, actually, the little bit higher cholesterol is protective and helpful. At least that's how she suggested it. I want to make one more quick comment, and then I'll be quiet. When I started Carnivore 5 years ago, a close friend of mine also started it, and he's a CrossFitter and does really, really well with it. And my son, who at the time was 20, he's now 24. After hearing Jordan Peterson's story, he came and stayed. My son came and stayed with me for a few weeks and asked me to help him get started on carnivore. And he used to have severe depression. I mean, debilitating depression. Within 3 months, the depression was gone, and he is still carnivore and loves it. He's 24 now and absolutely loves it. So there are some younger people that are waking up to this. It's rare. My other kids think we're crazy, my adult children, but you know what? Over the years, we'll be living proof that this is the optimal way. So, you know.
Yeah, it's certainly optimal way for some of us. And I think it's something that, I mean, at the very least, we need to fight for our right to do so, because, there are people that will say, well, for the good of the planet, we're going to just, minimize your access to cows and things like that, which I think is absolutely horrible. I think the data by which they're making those decisions is completely ridiculous. It's clear that cows are not the problem. They're not driving climate change for those people that do that. I mean, if you even want to go down that road, I mean, there's far bigger fish to fry, so to speak, with regard to that. And yet, we still see like Eric Adams in New York. I mean, we're gonna protect the environment and cut down our meat consumption by 33% in the city on a governmental basis. We're asking 25% in the private sector to do so. That's nonsense. I mean, what's going to happen is you're going to have with more sick people, you're going to have more depressed people, like you mentioned, and that's going to drive healthcare costs up. And healthcare, for those who don't know, healthcare contributes anywhere between 4 to 10% of our greenhouse gases, and it is an incredibly polluting, wasteful system. I mean, I'll say this again and again. Every time I did a major surgery, the amount of trash that was generated, I mean, an entire room full of trash every time, all single-use plastic, all this stuff that's just generated over and over again. And it is so incredibly wasteful and damaging, with pollution and all that other crap. So, yeah, there's a comment from Rick saying he was on meds before keto carnivore. Now he's 5 years off meds, apparently. So, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you're no longer, and I say this every time, and this is not for you guys, but for the general population, every time you choose to eat the garbage, you eat the processed garbage that's out there, that's cheap and tasty and encouraged for you to eat and heavily marketed to. Every time you choose to do that, you give those people more power over you. You're just ceding power to these people that they do not have your best interest in mind. And I just think about that as every time I'm eating a steak, I'm not contributing to that garbage and, contributing to their lock on, I mean, because it's very, I mean, we just see, I mean, you just sit back and you watch the big food corporations feed everybody crappy food, and that makes everybody sick. And then the pharmaceutical companies prey upon you by putting you on meds that don't get you any healthier. And it's just a vicious cycle. And I mean, once you see it, you see it, and you just like, you can't believe you participated in that. And the healthcare system is just facilitating all that. And it's just like, oh yeah, we're just, you look to these physicians as, as a noble profession. It's still, a lot of people respect nursing and doctors as a profession that we look up to, and we think they're honest, ethical people. But I mean, the whole system is rigged to basically, keep you sick and medicated. And it's really not. I mean, and it's not to say there aren't good people in it. I mean, I truly think most physicians, even today, most of them are trying to do their best to help people. They're just in a system that they're rigged in, and they're unwilling or unwitting, sort of subcontractors for the pharmaceutical companies. And it's really become nefarious.
Does Revero have any intentions of reaching out to doctors to provide some level of training or exposure?
So, I mean, we will be hiring physicians and we will be training them in this sort of stuff. And so all physicians that work for us will by definition be on board with what we're doing. And so what I think is my plan is to put up our results, put our numbers on the scoreboard and to say, where are the rest of you guys at? When we're embarrassing the standard of care, that's once we start receiving patients and inevitably seeing the successes, which I know we're going to have, we're going to be very aggressive about marketing that and documenting that and just embarrassing everybody else. It's like, what do you mean? You go to a GI doctor and they put you on all these lifelong meds that cost $8,000 a month and you're not getting better. Who wants to put up with that? So, I mean, I think we'll shame them into changing their ways, because
I think it's a good strategy. Just got to be super aggressive at showing off those results, because it'll draw people in.
Yeah, we will. I mean, we know the power of, I mean, like I said, these drug companies have billions of dollars at their disposal to advertise and market. And you see the TV ads. I mean, the United States, we're one of 2 companies that allows direct to consumer marketing of drugs on TV. The other country being New Zealand, and it's had a huge effect, a huge impact. And there's billions of people that go ask your doctor about whatever, you get all seeing those ads. So you go and you ask your doctor about the drug. I mean, they basically pre-sell it before you even get there. You specifically go to the doctor for this drug, right? And it's an absolute, I mean, I think it should be criminal. I mean, we have the FDA that's fully under regulatory capture, where they are, I mean, literally the FDA, 65% of their drug approvals are paid for by the pharmaceutical company itself. And so the regulators are paid by the people they're supposed to regulate. It makes no sense at all. I mean, that should be outlawed, but anyway, we're going to continue to fight. It's a grassroots movement. I mean, it is. I mean, clearly it's going to take all of us, and I hope early on, my suspicion is the early adopters that going into Revero will be people that already believe in the system. And maybe they just want a doctor that is going to support what they're doing, and that's fine. I mean, because that'll get us up off the ground and running. And then as we start to, produce our results, and people are going to see that, and it's going to take a couple of years to see that initial growth. But I think I have every expectation that we will be taking care of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of customers over time, and that will be a game changer. That will change the entire landscape of healthcare and what the expectations are and what the paradigms are. And but yeah, it's a fight worth having. We're gonna have a lot of opposition. Obviously, once we start making those differences, the companies that we're taking money from are not going to like it, and they're going to come after us, and maybe they'll come after us with the regulatory, bribing their senators to pass laws to make it harder to do this stuff, and on and on and on. But I think the biggest thing we can do is to get other corporations on our side. And how do you do that? Well, you go to companies like Ford Motor Company, or whatever the big companies that have a lot of capital, and say, hey, look, we are now saving you 50% on your healthcare costs for your employees, which is huge. I mean, that's if you own a big corporation, a significant cost to you is going to be paying for your employees' healthcare. It's just huge. And so if you can reduce those costs, then you have those people in your corner.
When you start hiring sales reps, let me know. I'll put my resume in.
Okay, we will. We'll put that out there. I mean, we have, if you go to the website, I think there are some positions still open that we're collecting, names, and as we expand, because initially, we can only hire as many people. We don't have any customers yet, so we can't hire a huge sales force until we have customers. And so we have some basic ones ready to go. We're licensed in all 50 states. And so once those guys get saturated, which I think will happen fairly quickly, then we'll quickly, expand and train and hire more personnel to meet those growth needs. So anyway, appreciate that. Okay. Anybody else have a thought, comment, question? I know the YouTube commentary has mostly been people talking amongst themselves, but let's see. Yeah, there's Grace Rose on YouTube saying about 90% of the store is pretty much garbage. It kind of is. I mean, it's sad to say. I mean, you go to the grocery store and you're like, it's not even worthwhile. I mean, there's nothing in there that I consider even worth even considering. And I put this out on Twitter yesterday. I said, because somebody said, well, I wish I could do the diet. It's too expensive. And I said, honestly, compared to most people's grocery bill, a carnivore diet is either equal or cheaper for most people. And, there's a whole bunch of people that confirm that, hundreds of people saying, yeah, actually I spend less money on carnivore than I did before, because I'm not buying all the garbage. I'm not buying all the stuff that I end up throwing away all the fruits and vegetables that go bad. I'm not paying for all the condiments and supplements and all that stuff. And that's just the grocery bills. And that's not to mention healthcare costs going down. So it's actually cheaper for most people. All right. Charlie has his hand up. Good morning, Charlie.
Good day, sir. I just wondered, are we going to start showing the entire hour on YouTube now so I can tell people to come there to see it?
Yeah, well, I mean, on these non-guest meetings, this is open forum type of thing. We're going to do that for a little bit. We did that. We used to do that in the past, and we're going to try playing with it again. So yes, it'll be on the ones where I don't have a podcast one. So these ones will be just kind of open for a little bit. Hopefully some of the folks on YouTube will jump over here and join us so they can actually participate more directly in the conversation. But yeah, that'll be for at least for a while. We'll see how it goes.
It seemed like in the past you would run about 30 minutes on YouTube and then turn it off. So,
oh yeah, I can't remember. I think we'll just do the whole thing for now and see. But we'll see what happens. All right. Yeah, it's putting a link in the talk about lack of an inverse association between LDL cholesterol and lifespan, or something. Is it or mortality, basically in elderly? Yeah, yeah. That's and you're quoting Ravenscov, who is obviously he's published quite a bit. He's been very contrary to the narrative on cholesterol. A lot of people put him out as a crazy cholesterol denier guy, but I mean, he is publishing data out there, and there's a lot of stuff like that. I wasn't going to say, you guys know Asim Malhotra, who we've interviewed, and I've known Asim for a couple of years now. He was on Rogan yesterday, or I don't know when it's going to be released, but he just announced he went on, so it's good to see. And Asim has been very critical of some of the thoughts around saturated fat driving heart disease. So I think the more we get more people out there that get this message, the better. I mean, one of the things I look at is, where do most of us consume saturated fat? Not this community, but Americans in general. Almost all of the saturated fat consumed by Americans comes in the form of processed foods and desserts and things like that. Actually, very little of the saturated fat is actually coming from actually whole food sources like meat and things like that. In fact, beef represents, in the United States, about 3% of the saturated fat consumption. So it's like, is it the saturated fat, or is it the garbage that it's contained in? Is it the fact that you're eating Little Debbie snack cakes that are made with eggs and dairy, and that's where you're getting your saturated fat. So I think it's probably much of that. And like there was a large analysis done in 2020 in the Journal of American College of Cardiology, saying that saturated fat as it's presented in whole foods like meat, eggs, dairy, things like that are not a problem, because it's in a whole food matrix, which has a lot of other things going on. And so that's why, again, we've had, this carnivore diet's been, popular now for, 5+ years or something. I know I've been talking about it now for 7 years. And literally hundreds of thousands of people have done it now. And many of them have been doing it for many, many years now. And we're not seeing everybody dropping dead of heart attacks. I mean, even, just general population, if you were to take 100,000 people, ages 40 to 70, just odds are, I mean, a certain percentage of them are going to have heart attacks, probably, I don't know what the number is, but it's not an inconsequential number. It's going to be some percentage of the population every year has heart attacks. And to my knowledge, and again, I don't obviously haven't seen everybody, but to my knowledge, we don't see a great number of people going carnivore having heart disease. And my guess is probably the people on carnivore are probably less likely than the average American to have heart disease or have a heart attack. I think that's a reasonable thing to say, because when you're cutting out all of the ultra processed garbage and all that other stuff, you're just better than everybody else. So, all right, guys, we got about 5 minutes left. So if anybody else has anything to say, speak now or forever hold your peace, as they say. We'll go back and check on YouTube and see if they've got anything going on there. Mrs. Don Lover says, all right, what else we got? Yeah, mostly just some commentary, guys. So I don't see a direct question that you want to ask. But anyway, yeah. So we'll be back again tomorrow on Sunday. Like I said, usually Saturday, Sundays, I'm here. Next weekend, I'm not 100% if I'll be here. I think so. I have to go down to San Francisco for some meetings with my co-founder Masa about this business stuff with the company, and so I suspect I'll probably be able to do the meeting still. I'll just do that. Ed's commenting the podcast with Chris Kenobi was first rate. Look for it on YouTube. I don't know if has it been released yet? I don't know if it's out yet. So it has been out. Has it been out? I think Carol's maybe shaking her head yes. So it's been out. Okay, great. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm Felice usually gets them up within a day or two. So, yeah, I believe it or not, I don't watch my own podcasts, because I've already experienced it. So I usually don't have to. I just don't have time, to be honest. But I'm glad it's out, and hopefully people are getting some benefit from that. I still have to get through his book. I've got so much. I got to tell you, every time I go somewhere, somebody wants me to read their book. It's like, and I don't have a lot of time for that, but I try to get through it little by little. How do we access the YouTube version of this live? You just go to the Revero YouTube, and it'll be there. It'll be like, I think it's called the Dr. Shawn Baker podcast, something. I don't know what it's titled, but it'll be up in probably 10 minutes. So I think something like that. So if anybody wants to come back and, rewatch this for any reason, then it'll be there. So, yep. And then, so Brett saying, watch out for guys 167 on Dr. Baker. But yeah, are you on page 167, Brett? I can't remember. I haven't looked at my own book in a long time. I know it's still doing quite well. I'm still getting, a lot of people are still buying it. And, I think it'll stand the test of time, because it's pretty straightforward, basic, how to do a carnivore diet. It doesn't have all the sort of kind of, I think, unnecessary stuff in there. I think it's pretty, and it works. I mean, I think it's, like I said, it doesn't have to be too complicated. So anyway, thanks for participating in the book, by the way, Brett, for being one of the many examples we have in there of people that have done this. And thanks for your continued persistence. I mean, Brett has been one of the most persistent, I think, every single day for 1,700 and whatever number you're on days. You've posted here's my meat, here's my bacon, and this is what I eat every day, and doing well.
And zero downside. Today is 1,748 days of only eating meat and only drinking water.
All right, you're going to be 2,000 pretty soon. Maybe early next year you'll be over 2,000. So, or maybe by the end of that, I don't know.
In less than 3 months, Doc, it'll be my 5-year carniversary.
Wow, good for you. Awesome. Wonderful. I'm almost to 7 years myself. So good for you. I'm glad you found it. It's changed your life. And yeah, somebody was saying your guitar is, I don't know, getting better, or I don't know if it's getting better or not, or you've always been good, but some people are really impressed with the blues guitar.
Well, thank you so much. It's without Carnivore, I wouldn't be playing guitar. That's for sure. I wouldn't be playing at this level. It's really, when you don't have any mental or emotional limits, you're capable of reaching your goals if you're willing to put the time and the effort into learning.
Absolutely. All right, guys, it is 10 o'clock. I got a date with some tri-tip. I will see you guys back tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, YouTube. We'll see you guys.